How's it going? It's me, Mr. Red Fox. And this video, even though Square Enix is in the title, is not necessarily entirely about Square Enix. No, it's about Japanese third parties in general. Now, it's no secret that I consider Japanese developers to be generally better than most Western developers. There's the odd men out like Blizzard, LucasArts back in the day, Black Isle Studios, Interplay, stuff like that. But overall, in my opinion, Japanese developers are just better. But anyway, and to see how far these companies have fallen is disconcerting to say the best. Now, the reason I made this was because I recently discovered that they're planning on porting Final Fantasy 15 to the Switch, but it's going to be the baby version, which is ironic because Final Fantasy 15 is kind of like, it's not really a Final Fantasy game. It's a hack and slash beat 'em up with Final Fantasy tropes in it, but it's not a Final Fantasy game. It's already kind of Final Fantasy for dummies. Hey, you don't like you don't want to have to control a multi-character party, do multiple storylines. Well, fuck you. You want to do that? Fuck you. play this shit with beat 'em up concepts. So, with that being said, let's get into how I feel various Japanese third parties have let us down and how they could possibly bring it back together. We're going to go over Square Enix, Namco Bandai, and Capcom, because why not Capcom? I know some people say, well, what about Konami? Konami really doesn't do gaming much these days, so fuck them. So here we go. You know what? I'll add Konami too. We'll do 4. So I'll do the problem and the solution with each section. So let's get into Square Enix first. Okay then, so let's identify the problem. The problem with Square Enix is that, frankly speaking, their games kind of, these days, aren't very good, in my opinion. And a lot of their more, how should I put this? A lot of their more iconic franchises have kind of gone downhill. For example, Final Fantasy is not what it used to be. Now, how much of that is their fault? How much of that is, just the way things are? I don't know. But, Final Fantasy is not what it used to be. As a matter of fact, in my opinion, Final Fantasy hasn't been good since 12. Okay? And 12 is not a great Final Fantasy game, but it is a Final Fantasy game. In which it has a lot of the tropes that we enjoy about Final Fantasy. Multi-character party, different storylines, characters with their own agendas coming together for a common goal. It's Final Fantasy. Summons, job classes to an extent. But the best way to play Final Fantasy 12 is the Zodiac Edition that has all of the fixes and everything like that. But that's neither here nor there. So the problem, in my opinion, with Square Enix is that their core franchises, aside from Dragon Quest, have kind of been left by the wayside. Like, when was the last time anyone here has played, like their core franchises are, have been so quote unquote streamlined that they don't even resemble their past selves, which is the equivalent of going to your favorite restaurant and this has actually happened. Most people here remember No Little Caesars as being the $5 pizza people, which, I mean, how good can a pizza be if it's $5 fucking? But that's neither here nor there. But when I was a kid, Little Caesar was actually a legit restaurant. Same thing with Long John Silver. Long John Silver was a restaurant where you could go. There were waiters. You could actually place orders and eat food and shit like that. Now these days, Little Caesars and Long John Silver's are nothing like that. Okay, they're a joke, really, and it's sad, but that's the way things are because cost cutting. Um, Little Caesars began to cut the quality of their ingredients, and people stopped using their pizza, stopped buying their pizza. So, and it took them a long time for them to come back. And I don't even think like Little Caesars wound up going bankrupt, and the IP, the license was bought by someone else who brought them back. But now they're like exclusively cheap ass pizza that's not very good. I mean, ugh, Jesus Christ, Little Caesars pizza is terrible. But that's neither here nor there. Basically, cheapening out and watering down the core product led to their detriment. And we're seeing that now with Square Enix, okay? And I know what some people say, but I like Final Fantasy 15. Okay, fair enough. Does Final Fantasy 15 share any of the qualities of past Final Fantasy games? Did Final Fantasy 13 share any of the qualities, legitimately, of past Final Fantasy games? 12? 10? Did they? No? Well, there you go. The quality of the core product has been watered down and annualized and trivialized, and just like Final Fantasy is not the juggernaut it used to be, which is sad because Final Fantasy was one of the reasons I got a PlayStation 2 was for Final Fantasy. It's like, man, I gotta get Final Fantasy. I mean, I was that type of Final Fantasy fanboy. I did not get a PS1 for Final Fantasy 7. I had it on PC, which was a shitty port, but fuck it. So basically, the quality of the games have been going down year over year over year. Even the other installments and the assist in the games have been not very good, in my opinion. So that's the problem. The solution after the cut. Okay then, the solution is actually going to surprise you because you're going to be like, I can't believe you said they should do this. The solution, in my opinion, to Square Enix's problem is this. Frankly speaking, they don't know how to make RPGs anymore. I mean, let's just keep it real. They don't, like, Final Fantasy is not what it used to be. Dragon Quest is the only consistent RPG that Square Enix has been releasing. Is Dragon Quest. Every other RPG franchise they hold is kind of shitty. We haven't seen a Secret of Mana in years. If you want to play Secret of Mana, my advice to you is to go play that game Lost Oasis, because that's made by the guy who created Secret of Mana, and that's about the closest Secret of Mana game you're gonna get. And that's from Nintendo, from Grezzo. So, as you might figure out, they need to get back to basics. And the way to do this, in my opinion, is to do one of three things. The first one is sell off the IP they're not using, because they ain't doing shit with them. So this means Ogre Battle, Lufia, they're just languishing. Either that, or, this is their second option in my opinion, farm these out to indie devs to basically make smaller tier games set in this universe. Like basically I'm thinking at the highest tier these games would be $39.99, and that's if they had a decent amount of content. So yeah, I think that could actually work, in my humble opinion. Would it be perfect? Probably not, but I mean, you could get a Lufia game, you could get an Ogre Battle game, because Ogre Battle at its core was basically a tactical RPG with heavier role-playing elements and stuff like that. I think that could work. Make a Final Fantasy Tactics game, that type of thing. But make these smaller tier games, $30, $40. put them on the 3DS or the Switch, make them cheap, have fun. There you go. Those are your solutions to stay viable. That being said, we'll move on to the next culprit in this doldrum of shit, Capcom, after the cut. Okay then, Capcom's problem is kind of similar to the situation is similar to Square Enix. Their IPs have begun to languish, but the reasoning is a little bit different. Basically, Capcom can't seem to find its next tentpole game. What I mean by this is a game that basically makes people say, "Wow, this game sold 10, 12 million." Now Capcom hasn't and they kind of ran even their tentpole franchise, which is Street Fighter, the latest iteration of Street Fighter V, underperformed. Of course, I could have told you it was going to do that because the last time a Street Fighter game underperformed was Street Fighter 3, Third Strike, which underperformed because it was initially only on the fucking Dreamcast. Yeah, they backed the wrong horse on that one. But that's neither here nor there. Capcom is once again sitting on a lot of IPs that there's basically nothing being done. So my advice is do something with them. And once again, these do not have to be AAA productions. Or reestablish relationships with people who made these games what they were. So, for example, have Capcom contact Platinum and say, "Hey, would you guys be willing to, for $5 million, make an Okami game?" Well, no, that wouldn't be good because Okami needs a bigger budget than $5 million. To make an Okami 2 or 3, depending on how you want to look at it. Would you guys be willing to make a for the smaller IPs like a Final Fight or a some of the other beat 'em ups they've had in their past, just fucking farm those games out to indie devs in Japan, or you could go you could go in Japan, you make it worldwide. I really don't care. But these games are just sitting there. These things that could be making you tons and tons of money are just languishing. Why? Because we don't have the resources to make these games. Fair enough. Both employment-wise, and you don't think those games would do well. But here's the thing, okay? If you farm the license out to indie devs, right? And you say, hey, kind of like how you guys did with those Mega Man Zero games, NT Creates, right? If you basically farm those games out and they do all right, you know what you could do? You could build new franchises from those devs, right? And you could have a team that's really good at making those types of games. Those games sell well. You keep the budget low, maybe $1 million over a year. Maybe in order for them to qualify, they have to make a small gameplay demo of the IP. You give them a small budget and let them run with it. I think that could really bring those games back, bring those IPs back. And I mean, instead of them languishing and not making any money, depending on the length of the game, if you're talking a Final Fight-esque game that has, I don't know, a decent amount of combat, that maybe takes, what's the word I'm looking for? Maybe a Final Fight game that has, 30 hours of gameplay plus replayability. Maybe that within itself becomes, that's a 30-hour game. I mean, that's a $30 game. And that's how you do it. That's how you make a game worthwhile. That's how you make a game, and you put that shit on PC, console, and consoles. That's money. Okay? $30, maybe make a special edition with some extra swag, I don't know. Boom, you got a game. Enough said. Same thing with Breath of Fire, you know. And these games, I mean, you sell them for $20 or $30 a piece. Right there, you've made if they sell like 10, if they sell like 3, if they sell 1 million on each of the platforms that are out, and maybe 500,000 on PC, that's 3.5 million sells for $20 or $30. Right there, you've made, let's say $25 is the medium amount that of money that you're getting from each of these sales for for each of these games. Let's say each of them sells 3 million. Right there, $25. You've basically sold. You've basically made 75 million for each of those games. Let's say you have 5 of these IPs that have been languishing that you sell, that you make 75 million off of them. 5 of them. 5 times 75 is, I want to say, $375 million. Okay? Give or take a few million here and there for fees and shit like that. So basically, you've basically taken a budget combined for all 5 of these games of, let's say, 5 to 10 million if you go 2 million for these 5 games, into 375 million on the low end. Yeah, bitch. There you go. That's how you make money, you stupid sons of bitches. But yeah, that's a way to basically make these games viable. So we'll move on to the next one after the cut. All right then, we're back. So this is Namco Bandai, or Bandai Namco, depending on which version you want to say. I don't fucking care, but here we go. Here are my ideas to deal with the problems that they're having. And in my opinion, the best way to deal with these issues, because apparently Namco Bandai can't be bothered to put any new games out right now. Everything they seem to be putting out are basically just ports of games that have already come out. Like, especially on the Switch. They're just, like every fucking game that's coming to the Switch from Namco Bandai is a port of something that came out last gen. Unlimited World Red. It's ridiculous. A lot of fucking ports. So, here's my idea. Namco Bandai, if they want to bring things together, in my humble opinion, should do this. They're sitting on a lot of really good IP that are doing nothing. They should partner with Nintendo. I know what some people would say. What do you mean? Baten Kaitos 3, anyone? Baten Kaitos 3, actually 2, because Baten Kaitos Origins was a prequel. Baten Kaitos 2, made by Monolith Soft. Yes, I know a lot of that team right now is working on Xenoblade Chronicles 2, but I'm just saying, you could totally get away with having some of those people work on another Baten Kaitos game. Don't dumb it down like Origin was. Just make it, each character has their own deck. You get cards, you build that deck, use those cards. It would be like one, except combat would be a little bit faster, I think. And they should do that with everyone. They should. We should get another Soul Calibur game akin to Soul Calibur 2. Except instead of one different playable character for each game, it should be like 6. So, I don't know. Are there 6 distinctly different playable characters? Well, you could have 3 characters from Killer Instinct, the Arbiter from Halo, maybe Master Chief with an energy sword. I don't know. And then maybe perhaps after that you could have, I don't know, let's see. Spinal, Jago, because he's got a katana, and maybe Fulgore. So that's 6 characters for Microsoft. And then for PlayStation, you could have Kratos from God of War. I know he was there before, but fuck it. He can be there again. You could have Nathan Drake with a... No, you could have the chick from Event Horizon, whose name escapes me because I don't really give a shit about that game. You could have the chick from Event Horizon. You could have Sir Dan Fortescue from Medieval. That's 3. You could have Spike from Ape Escape. That's 4. You could have who else? You could have Jack from Jack and Daxter, because he kind of uses melee weapons in those games. And you could have who else? I need a fifth character for PlayStation. Thing is, PlayStation doesn't have a lot of first-party IPs that would really... I would say Paw Rapper the Rapper, but his art style would not look good. Like, you couldn't make it work enough because Soul Calibur uses a more realistic art style, and Paw Rapper wouldn't really mesh with that. I don't know. Let's see, who else? Shit. I already said Sir Dan Fortescue. I don't know who else. I really don't know. I don't have a clue who else you could use aside from those characters. That's 5. Shit. I don't know. Like, the thing is that it has to be a character who fits with that game, and it's really hard to... I don't know. I'm trying to use for... Okay, look. You in the comment sections, if you can come up with a 6th character for PlayStation to fit, that'd be really great, because it's really hard for me. Because that's first party. Because it's really hard to find first party Sony characters that fits the art style of oh, I know. You could have the main character from instead of a Sony first party character, you could have the exclusive character from what's it called? Shit, I forgot the name of it. You could have the main character from Draga's Tower. He could be, because he wields a sword and shield. He's a sword and shield type warrior. He'd totally fit in that shit. So there you go. Your 6 playable characters. Next, let's move on to Nintendo. Nintendo, obviously, very easy to get the 6 characters you would need for a Nintendo-esque for a Nintendo Soul Calibur exclusive title. Very easy, so let's get with it. Link, Sheik Princess Zelda, and Ganondorf. Those are 3. Maybe add Lan Ku from Fire Emblem, because, you know, he's an expert swordsman. Maybe add Chrome's daughter, Lucina, and maybe Donald, because he's a spear user. You can't have all sword users. Maybe have Ganondorf use that glowing sword from Twilight Princess, or you could have him be the kind of chunkier Ganondorf from Final Fantasy, from Wind Waker. Doesn't really matter. There you go, folks. So those are just some solutions to Namco Bandai's problem, because if I have to see one more fucking port of a game that everyone who wants to play that game already bought, I'm gonna have a problem. Konami, I after the cut. Alright, so we're at the final bit, if you will. Konami, the problem and the solution. The problem with Konami is that, once again, they're sitting on a mountain of IPs that they're doing nothing with. Well, I take that back. You can always play that Castlevania pachinko game. So, basically, here are my ideas. Just hear me out, okay? And they've already kind of started with Bomberman R and stuff like that. Bomberman, they need to basically make some, start making some games that are, how can I put this, able to be given to anybody. Farm them out to other locations is what I'm saying. So, I know some people are going to be like, oh, but don't do that. Look, there's money to be made this way. Alright? And they tried this with Mercury Steam and that shit-tastic Castlevania game, but never again. Never again. We haven't seen a Suikoden in years. Farm it out to indies. To smaller studios who know how to work under a budget. Give them a small budget and, have someone at these developers / publisher studios who's like, okay, look, who's basically kind of like their Dan Adelman, Damon Baker type person to kind of coordinate this shit. And there you go. Enough said, you got the problem taken care of. So, I think that could totally help Konami and all of them. You notice all of these had a similar solution because in my opinion, it's a great way. Either sell off your IPs or do something with them, because in the video game community, much like the movie industry, your intellectual property is your most valuable resource. Use it or lose it. There you go. Enjoy the rest of the video. This is me playing Agents of Mayhem, which is a game that I'm actually having fun with. Some people say it's the next Saints Row installment. It really isn't, although it does have a lot of Saints Row characters in it. Johnny Gat, the guy named Yeti is actually, in fact, Oleg from Saints Row 3. So, yeah. And I've been enjoying the game. It's been very fun. So, enjoy, have fun, Wiedersehen, arrivederci. This is almost the end of the video. We have to go through upcoming events and such after the cut. Alright, so we're back. Basically, what we'll be doing this week, we'll be doing Saturday, the Sci-Fi Power Hour at 7 o'clock to 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. We'll be focusing on Star Wars. So look forward to that. If you're a Star Wars fan and you want to join, comment in the comment section. Always looking forward to have more Star Wars fans join. We'll be talking about Star Wars, the movies. We'll be talking about the comics. We'll be talking about some of the tabletop RPG games. Basically, Star Wars in many of its permutations. We will also talk about the many movies that came about because people really, really wanted to parody or ride that Star Wars train. So there will even be some talk about one of my personal favorites, Spaceballs! Spaceballs the lunchbox, Spaceballs the video game, Spaceballs, Spaceballs the flamethrower! We'll be talking about all of it, and it will be fun and enjoyable. So look forward to that. This Sunday at 7 to 8:30, possibly will go longer, will be another BS Busters, in which we will be talking about, we talked about, in the last BS Busters, One of our topics were third-party games that we would like to see brought back, not first-party. This time, we're going with the opposite end of that spectrum. We're going to talk about third-party games we would like to see brought back. First-party games that we'd like to see brought back. IPs that nothing has been done with it. What sparked this was that I recently saw a game from some studio in Japan that basically is Advance Wars. I mean, it's basically Advance Wars, and I was like, man, god damn, Nintendo, why aren't you making an Advance Wars right now? So with that being said, that's upcoming events. That'll be this Sunday at 7 Eastern Standard Time. Before we go, a member of our community lives in the Houston area, Dr. Feelgood. Our hearts and prayers go out to him. We hope everything works out for him and everything like that. Nothing bad happens to him. And with that being said, that's the end of this video. Enjoy. Buy Ages of Mayhem if you want to. It's a fun game. It has, ironically, really good third-person shooting combat, which is amazing to me. So, yeah, peace, enjoy, and that's it.